In the top stories, another vaccine shipment arrives tomorrow. Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister responds to protesters against mandatory vaccination, and school boards in the U.S. defy governor's bans on mask mandates. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Wednesday, August 11, 2021. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis will receive another shipment of COVID-19 vaccines on Thursday. According to Minister of Health, the Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet, the Federation will receive 11,700 doses of the Pfizer vaccines from the United States through a donation to CARICOM.
I think we would remember that CARICOM would have reached out to the U.S., engaging them on being able to share some of their supply of vaccines, considering that the Caribbean is one of their closest countries, and we have so many persons that go in between both the U.S. and the CARICOM countries. The idea is that no one's safe until everyone's safe, and so CARICOM would have said to them that considering that most of your people come to the Caribbean and vice versa, most of the persons on the Caribbean go to the U.S., it might just be thoughtful for you to be able to provide us with the vaccines that we need to make sure that I think we would remember.
Expected to arrive via FedEx at the RLB International Airport at 12:15 p.m. Minister Byron Nisbet says this will be the first of 3 batches of the new vaccines. The Police High Command has announced that all staff members and residents of Her Majesty's Prison who were ill with COVID-19 have recovered. A press release on Tuesday said, quote, "There are now 0 positive cases of the COVID-19 virus at Her Majesty's Prison after a member of staff was cleared by health authorities on Monday. All members of staff and residents have had negative results in 2 subsequent tests, which indicate that they have fully recovered from the virus," end quote. According to the release, the management will continue to take the steps necessary to protect the health of every member of staff and resident and encourage them to get vaccinated, as it is deemed one of the best defenses against the virus. Officials from the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards will be featured on the radio and TV program Working for You this afternoon. The special guests will be Stuart Laplace, the director of the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards, and German Mike, head of standards at the SKN Bureau of Standards. The discussion will focus on the value of improving the national quality infrastructure, the functions of the Bureau, labeling of goods, inspection of imported goods, test and inspection of quality, and the prohibition of production, sale, export of deficient goods, among other related matters. Working for You is carried live every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. on ZIZ Radio and participating radio stations. The program is also streamed live on the SKNIS Facebook page. We now move to news on the regional scene. Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister, the Honorable Gaston Brown, has questioned the motives of protesters on Sunday since his administration is not making COVID-19 vaccination mandatory. ABS's Ragib Aparicio reports.
I ask, for what purpose? Why protest against a vaccination you're not required to take?
Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, the Honorable Gaston Brown, is assuring the public the government is not making COVID-19 vaccination mandatory.
We have made it abundantly clear that no one, absolutely no one in our country will be vaccinated if they do not wish to be. We uphold that right and respect it. With regard to the Rastafarian community, we also recognize that their religious belief rejects vaccinations. I have said in various fora, we are not challenging those in the Rastafarian community who follow their faith.
Prime Minister Brown's comments come as a protest which authorities say was illegal descended into chaos on Sunday. The government has implemented a number of measures to encourage vaccination, including the requirement for all patrons of bars be vaccinated. Cash incentives have also been provided.
It would be a highly irresponsible, if not a reckless and careless government that does not seek to protect the population of the country from infection by a deadly virus. All that we require is that frontline workers and public servants who do not wish to be vaccinated take a free COVID test every 2 weeks.
Science has shown vaccinated people are much less likely to contract COVID-19 and are also less likely to suffer severe complications following infection. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister asserts political elements incited violence during the protest, despite the warning from the police.
They repeatedly urged the persons in the gathering to disperse, pointing out that they were violating the laws and COVID regulations. It was only after the politically aligned ringleaders of the crowd began to agitate, disregarding the police urgings, refusing to disperse, and inciting the gathering to march without legal permission, that the police was forced to use tear gas to disperse them.
The Prime Minister, who was in St. Lucia at the time, says he was not immediately aware of the matter. He assures the directive to use tear gas to disperse the crowd was not delivered by any member of cabinet. Prime Minister Brown condemns comments suggesting the police's response was an attack on democracy.
There's no legal violation or any infringement of a right not to be vaccinated, for that right is upheld for all. Nor is there any violation that would necessitate curbing any peaceful and lawful protests, because the right to such protests is respected. Those rights have been upheld at the weekly pickets at the office of the Prime Minister, where the police routinely provided protection for the peaceful demonstrators.
Rakib Aparicio reporting for ABS News.
On Tuesday morning, the National Assembly in Guyana passed an amendment bill which formally strikes out cross-dressing as a criminal offense from Guyana's laws. Amil Griffith has the details.
The bill passed on Tuesday deletes Section 153(1) of the Summary Jurisdiction Offences Act of Guyana, which made it an offence for any person to dress as the opposite gender in a public place for any improper purpose. The bill was presented by the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Anil Nandalal. The Society Against Sexual Orientation Discrimination, SASID, has heralded the passage of the bill as a significant step in raising awareness and recognizing the human rights of members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ+ community.
I think the bill that was passed this morning is a good public awareness initiative on the part of the government. The symbolism that it represents is that this government is prepared to respect decisions of the court, especially on very important human rights issues.
SASID's founder and managing director Joel Simpson. This comes 3 years after a Caribbean Court of Justice CCJ ruling that struck down the law against cross-dressing. Tuesday's amendment now complies with the landmark order issued by the CCJ in November 2018. SASID's director is, however, adamant that to really give a, quote, real meaning, end of quote, to their decision, government needs to do a comprehensive review of the entire Summary Jurisdiction Offences Act. He explains why.
There are other laws which affect vulnerable people, which affect poor people, which target transgender people as well. And there are offences related to vagrancy and loitering as well, that the police often use against vulnerable people on the streets. So instead of just bringing a bill to decriminalize cross-dressing, what we would have expected is a more comprehensive review of the entire act and to remove all of those colonial-era offences.
The AG, Minister of Parliamentary Affairs Gil Teixeira, opposition parliamentarians Dineshwar Jaiprashad and Kemraj Ramjatan all supported the amendment. However, there was pushback from APNU AFC MPs Richard Sinclair and Annette Ferguson, who argued against the passing of the bill based off their religious beliefs.
Mr. Sinclair is quoted as saying that LGBTQ identities should be considered as mental disorders. Ms. Ferguson referred to cross-dressing as an abomination. And we were quite appalled that within the National Assembly, this is the thinking.
According to Nandalal, Guyana is a secular state, meaning that it is officially neutral in matters of religion. However, Sinclair was adamant that the Word of God affirms a clear distinction between male and female dress codes. He passionately referred to several verses of the Bible, which he said are in opposition to cross-dressing.
Internationally, Florida and Texas schools are defying Governor Ron DeSantis' orders of barring schools from issuing mask mandates. This as Florida experiences a surge in COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations. More in this Reuters report.
School districts in Florida and Texas are bucking the Republican governor's bans on requiring masks for children and teachers as coronavirus cases soar. The Broward County School Board in Florida on Tuesday became the latest major district to flout an order by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis outlawing mask requirements in that state, voting Tuesday 8-1 in favor of a mask mandate. That's despite a threat from DeSantis the day before to financially punish school districts that require masks. And in Texas, the Dallas Independent School District said late Monday that it would also require masks, despite an order banning such mandates from Republican Governor Greg Abbott. The acts of rebellion by school officials come as these states, along with Louisiana, Arkansas, and others, are flooded with new cases after people resisted vaccines and other mitigating measures. Teachers and administrators are seeking to protect students, many of whom are under 12 years old and cannot get vaccinated.
It's about parental choice, not government mandate.
DeSantis on Tuesday insisted parents should make their own decision on whether their kids should be masked in school.
If you believe in the masking during the school, you're free to do it. No one's saying you can't do it.
But health officials are sounding the alarm, worried about what they say is a growing threat to children. Dr. James Versalovic is the interim pediatrician-in-chief at Texas Children's Hospital.
So since early July, we've seen a steady increase in the number of cases, and we've also seen an increase in hospitalized children and adolescents as well. It is considered a fourth wave here, and it's due to the Delta variant, plain and simple. The Delta variant is the most contagious variant of COVID yet known. This Delta variant now comprises well over 90% of our cases in children and adolescents.
In Florida, where lawsuits have also been filed challenging the anti-mask order, DeSantis has threatened to withhold salaries from school district officials who flout his ban. Now, the Biden administration is reviewing how it can get money to Florida school districts if DeSantis makes good on his threats to withhold pay from school leaders who require masks for students.
And now for the weather. Present weather shows partly cloudy skies. Winds are a gentle breeze of 8 miles per hour from an easterly direction. The temperature is 31 degrees Celsius or 87 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of 4 to 6 feet. The weather for today will see cloudy spells with a 70% or high chance of showers, and for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:39 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 5:53 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.